while ago, I asked you to read two stories, The Sacred Rac and The Allegory of the Cave. Both rather confusing stories, but that's okay because under the right circumstances, confusion can lead to curiosity. So let's take a closer look at these. Let's start with The Sacred Rac. As you may recall, The Sacred Rac is about the Asu tribe, who worship a creature called the Rac. The Rac is a very important part of the Asu culture, and it's even part of a coming-of-age ritual when young people turn 16. Unfortunately, the Rac can be a very destructive creature. The Rac injures a great many of the Asu people every year. It is very expensive to purchase and maintain, and it pollutes the Asu environment. Remember how I told you there's a hidden meaning behind this story? Well, the Asu people are actually the USA, and the Rac is actually a car. What we learn from this story is that a culture looks very different from an outsider's perspective. Now let's take a look at an even more complex story, The Allegory of the Cave by Plato. This story is very complex. It's got a lot of layers like a cake. Cake. So let's simplify things with a similar yet easier to understand allegory. The allegory of the horse. Imagine two people who are forced to stare at nothing but the wall of a cave. There was a horse that walked behind them, casting a shadow on the wall, and that's all that they could see. And then one day, one of them got free and saw the actual horse. They would probably be confused at first, but soon they would realize that this was the same horse that they had seen a shadow of, but now they could see the entire horse, and they would know much more about the horse than they would previously know just by seeing its shadow. Now imagine they went back to the cave and told the other person all about the horse. That person would probably feel very confused and maybe a little angry. Hey, I know about horses. I've been looking at this horse shadow all the time. What you're describing is very different. That's not what horses are like. Plato's allegory was referring to all knowledge, but we can apply it to cultures. Racism, bigotry, and stereotypes come from horse shadows. But learning about all cultures and learning to appreciate their complexity is like learning about the whole horse. So what do we learn by looking at these two stories together? We learn that we often have a very limited perspective when we look at a culture from the outside. We learn that we are often seeing just a shadow of a culture. We need to be willing to learn from people of all cultures. We need to read from authors all around the world, not merely for some abstract concept of diversity, but so that we can have a broader perspective of what it means to be a human being. One final thought about the allegory of the cave. I was about your age when I first read it in my Latin class. I was a little confused at first, but it's really stuck with me. If you think about your education like stepping out of the cave and experiencing the world around you, you will really start to enjoy the process of learning. There is a wondrous world around you, and I am just so excited to be part of helping you discover it.